Good evening and welcome to INFOWARS Nightly News with me, your host, Paul Joseph Watson, on this May 21st, 2012 edition.
Tonight.
You will not disrespect the President of the United States in this class.
An audio recording between a teacher and a North Carolina high school student goes viral as she tells her students that it is a criminal offense to criticize Obama. Plus, the state of Hawaii responds to the Arizona Secretary of State's request for Obama's birth certificate. Then, the police state welcomes NATO as Mayor Emanuel has authorized militarized social control of Chicago, and protesters who've clashed with police are being held on terrorism charges. All that plus more of tonight's top headlines, and Syrian Girl joins us live via video Skype tonight on the INFOWARS Nightly News.
Our top story tonight, teacher yells at student, criminal offense to criticize Obama. An audio recording of an exchange between a teacher and a student at North Rowan High School in North Carolina serves as a reminder that the school system is becoming a target or a training ground for teaching kids to be subservient to the state while indoctrinating them into thinking that the First Amendment does not exist. And this is an argument that was caught on a cell phone recording between a teacher and a student where the teacher's basically yelling over and over again, it's illegal to criticize our dear leader, you can't disrespect the president, it's an arrestable offense.
As a social studies teacher, I cannot allow you to slander any president in here. Yes, ma'am. Past or current. Yes, ma'am. Okay. You will not disrespect the President of the United States in this classroom.
I'll say what I want.
Not about him, you won't.
And the school actually reacted. Massive controversy online, you know, hundreds of thousands of views on the video. But the school reacted by calling it a learning experience. And no action whatsoever was taken against the teacher, even though she's basically teaching her kids in the class that the First Amendment does not exist. And in the article, we actually put out an InfoWars about this. You can go and watch a deluge of other videos where children in government schools are being taught to worship Obama and also chant mindlessly his campaign slogans. You'll all remember, of course, the infamous Obama military youth drill. The cult of personality is certainly still being built up around Obama as we head towards 2012. And in some cases, you know, it rivals the kind of thing you'd expect to see out of North Korea. Remember also that in 2009, the White House actually announced that it would start broadcasting Obama's speeches directly into classrooms, and that the Department of Education would instruct teachers to ask children, quote, why is it important that we listen to the president and other elected officials? So they're getting in at an early stage, getting into the schools. And so not only are the schools now, you know, prison training centers with the surveillance cameras, the patrol cops, the drug raids, the fake attack drills, you know, watching kids via their webcams, the teachers in Pittsburgh, nothing happened. But they're also literally becoming re-education camps in that they train kids not to be suspicious of authority and not to question elected representatives, servants like the president himself, but to literally worship and praise Barack Hussein Obama like he's some kind of Christ figure. So again, another great reason to homeschool. AMC buyout part of Chinese takeover of media. Again, this is an Infowars.com story written by myself. Chinese company Wanda has announced it will buy AMC, the second largest theater chain in the United States, increasing fears that the Chinese Communist Party is expanding its influence globally as part of a media takeover. Beijing is investing heavily in projecting its soft power or cultural influence by boosting China's state media presence abroad, including the USA, where the Chinese government has also run advertisements in New York's Times Square, reports USA Today. So remember, of course, the remake for Red Dawn, you know, the classic Cold War 1984 film about the Russian troops invading. Originally, the remake in 2009 was supposed to feature Chinese troops invading America. That got switched because the production company, NGM, started getting calls from Chinese state media saying they didn't appreciate China being depicted in a negative light. And of course, the financial clout of such threats in terms of the Chinese market certainly made MGM sit up and take notice. And they actually had to mothball the film. It hasn't even been released yet, set to be released at the end of this year, because they had to edit. They had to literally go into the film and edit out all the Chinese signage and props and replace them with those of North Korea, because the Chinese government, the Chinese state media made it clear they weren't happy about it. So we've already had examples of Chinese communist censorship system imposing their financial clout through threats of intimidation against the American film market. And now we're going to get that to an even greater extent with this takeover. And the guy that actually owns Wanda, this company that have bought this big theater chain, is, quote, a Communist Party member who sits on the nation's top advisory council. He's the guy who's now running America's second largest theater chain. Government tyranny. Illinois Department of Agriculture secretly destroys beekeepers' bees, and 15 years of research proving Monsanto's Roundup kills bees. This is out of Natural News. An Illinois beekeeper with more than a decade's worth of expertise about how to successfully raise organic, chemical-free bees is the latest victim of flagrant government tyranny. According to the prairie advocate Terrence Terry Ingram of Apple River, Illinois, owner of Apple Creek Apiary, has recently had his bees and beehives stolen from him by the Illinois Department of Agriculture, as well as more than 15 years worth of research proving that Monsanto's Roundup is the cause of colony collapse disorder. Again, it appears as though he was targeted basically because of the 15 years worth of research. They went in and claimed that his bees had this, rare, odd disease that nobody had ever heard of before, and they used it to go through all his his beehives, all his records, completely trashed it, shut him down. And given the fact that Monsanto is buying up the very companies responsible for producing the studies that found that their pesticides and herbicides cause CCD, it's no surprise to see it now going to this level where they're directly going onto people's farms, no warrants whatsoever, and just shutting people down, because the beekeepers, of course, they're the ones that are most aware of the environmental holocaust that Monsanto's products are waging on the bee population, which is, of course, vital for world food security. And so, again, they basically just came on his land and destroyed everything he had, part of Monsanto's continuing campaign of terror against anyone who tries to expose them. Next story on INFOWARS Nightly News. Jim Cramer is predicting bank runs in Spain and Italy and financial anarchy throughout Europe. During an appearance on Meet the Press on Sunday, Jim Cramer of CNBC boldly predicted that financial anarchy is coming to Europe and that there will be bank runs in Spain and Italy over the next few weeks. This is very strong language for the most famous personality on the most watched financial news channel in the United States to be using.
I'm predicting bank runs, Spain and Italy within the next few weeks. Without a coordinated policy, there is going to be financial anarchy in Europe, and it is going to cause a slowdown worldwide. China and here, this must be dealt with. The Germans are in charge, and they're pro-austerity, not growth.
Well, of course, if you were reading INFOWARS.com 2 or 3 years ago, you would have heard something very similar. And we're already witnessing the bank runs in Greece as of last week. Massive, what was it? Nearly $1 billion taken out in banks just over a few days. And as we reported, the elite's concern is not necessarily about Greece. Of course, they couldn't give a damn about it as an individual sovereign country. It's about the threat of a good example. If Greece drop out of the euro, and this is what top Bilderberg members have said, if they drop out and then they go on to stage an economic recovery in the aftermath of dropping out of the euro single currency, then that threat of a good example may just be too much to resist for these other European countries. And that's why the establishment has been so desperate to install its Goldman Sachs technocrats over the globe, because, they don't want to see a trickle turn into a stampede and crush their whole dream of a European federal superstate, which was, of course, the brainchild of Bilderberg itself from way back in 1955, decades before the Maastricht Treaty that formally introduced the euro single currency. Ken Bennett, Arizona Secretary of State, gets response from Hawaii on Obama birth certificate request. This is out of the Huffington Post. Arizona Secretary of State Ken Bennett has reportedly received a response from the state of Hawaii regarding his request for verification that President Obama was born in the United States. According to KTVK in Phoenix, the Hawaii Attorney General's office told Bennett that he must take a number of steps, including proving that the confirmation is necessary to update his office's records in order to receive the verification. And basically, there's a quote from Bennett: "I'm not a birther. I believe the president was born in Hawaii, or at least I hope he was. But my responsibility as Secretary of State is to make sure that the ballots in Arizona are correct and that those people whose names are on the ballot have met the qualifications for the office they are seeking." And of course, in addition to that, thousands of people from Arizona have demanded that he look into this. And of course, events on Friday told us that the birther issue is not going to go away. We actually got quotes, though, out of TPM, kind of the leftist media response to all this. Quote, "Bennett caved to a fringe group of activists," again, thousands of people, fringe group, just in that one state alone, "who believe in a conspiracy theory that just never seems to die, no matter how much proof they get." Oh, you mean the proof of a long-form birth certificate that a 12-year-old kid with a basic knowledge of Adobe Photoshop could pull apart in 5 minutes, which is supposed to be written on a typewriter, but clearly has computerized text in it? That proof? Is that what you're talking about? Here's another one out of the Talking Points memo regarding this story. Hawaiian officials have said time and again that Obama was born there in 1961, yet the theory persists. Well, I'll tell you why the theory persists. Remember Hawaii Governor Neil Abercrombie and his efforts to get a birth certificate, copy of the long form? Well, listen to this quote. Quote, "There is no Barack Obama birth certificate in Hawaii. Absolutely no proof at all that he was born in Hawaii." That's what radio host Mike Evans said Abercrombie had told him. And of course, Evans later bizarrely recanted and denied it all after making such a blunt statement. But basically, the governor, Abercrombie, tried to get in and demand the records. He was a supporter of Obama. He just wanted to get him to shut people up. He got nothing. He got absolutely nothing. And then also, as Jerome Corsi reported, former elections clerk in Hawaii, Tim Adams, signed a sworn affidavit saying he was told by supervisors in Hawaii that no long-form hospital-generated birth certificate existed for Barack Obama in Hawaii, and that neither Queens Medical Center nor Kapiolani Medical Center in Honolulu had any record of Obama having been born in their medical facilities. So, Secretary of State Ken Bennett, good luck with getting that original birth certificate, because it's proven quite difficult so far. Moving on to NATO news now. United States to unveil plans to bolster NATO alliance. President Obama, this is out of the New York Times, Obama will unveil a new package of NATO initiatives that include the alliance